Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Lorna. How are you doing today with the great news that you are an award winner?
Oh, yeah, I'm honored to accept that award from the Chinese Historical Society. I think I'm lucky to be included because the Wallace Chung family donated so many things and are such a big part of the Chinese history in this province. So to be included in that is pretty remarkable.
All right, so tell us, let's go back to the grassroots of the museum. How did it get started?
In the beginning, my husband Bernie and I bought the lot to use for our rafting company. And then we were told at that time that there had been a Chinese temple on the site. And so we researched that, and sure enough, there had been from 1881 until 1928. So that got me started, but then I just sat on it for like 10 years. And then finally decided no one else is doing anything to honor the Chinese in this area. Why don't I just do it? So in 2016, we purposely built the building to be a museum. So it's a new building on the original site of the Joss House. And by 2017 in May, we were able to open. So it's actually been open for 4 seasons now.
So, what is the history of the Joss House?
Yeah, so what happened is it probably was started by merchants in the town that followed the gold rush and were here during, like the railway went through Lytton in 1882, 83. So I suspect it was during that time because there were a lot more Chinese people in the community. And so they started it up. By 1928, it was quite abandoned because most of the Chinese families had left town, and which is probably why they lost possession of it. The next door neighbor was actually able to overtake, the land at that time.
So, how has the response been from the local Chinese communities to the project and also Chinese communities in Canada and around the world?
Yeah, there's very few Chinese people in Lytton at this time, but of course they've been very supportive. But I was worried about that initially, about how I would be accepted not being Asian, doing this museum for the community. But they've been so supportive. I've had a lot of press in the Chinese newspapers. They've sent visitors up frequently to me. And about a third of the people are from mainland China, a third from the lower mainland, and then about a third of the people are just other interested people. And those are the people coming to the museum each summer. Of course, last year was a little bit lower, but other than that, it's been doing fine.
Now, with this new award, what does it mean for the museum and for the village of Linton?
Yeah, the award was very important to me, partly because that gives me more credibility with the Chinese community. It also gives me advertising with the Chinese community. And so I'm hoping once the COVID things settle down that this will bring more, not just Chinese visitors, but any visitors to the community. And as you know, in small towns like Cache Creek or Ashcroft, visitors are a huge deal in the summer for the economy of the area.
Now, I can imagine with all the information that you've been researching that you've been able to hear or see some pretty cool stories. Do you have a favorite story that you could share?
Not so much a story, but the favorite family and my favorite thing at the museum. For years, from 1884, I think it was, until almost 2000, the Chong family ran a hardware and merchandise store in Lytton all those years. And the son that ran it last was Peter Chong. So my favorite thing in the museum, which he gave to me a few years ago before he passed away, is a small baby headband. And why that's important, it's a ornate uh, embroidered headband. And when in China, when babies at that time, when babies were a month old, they had a special celebration uh, where they put that headband on, had a family gathering with a lot of food. And the reason that is special to me is because Peter, his family kept that headband for 92 years before they gave it to me. So it
Wow.
was important to them. Plus, Peter is important because was the only living person that we knew that was actually in the Joss house. He was in the Joss house as a child, so he could describe what it was like inside before we built the replica.
And was he instrumental in building it?
No, not at that time. I just asked him for his opinion on things,
Yes.
and, but no, he wasn't involved at all.
How was it recreated?
So what we did is we were able to get the dimensions of the building from an article that was written about it in 1934. And so once we had the dimensions, we just extrapolated that into architectural drawings. And then I had been giving a few talks in California and other places about Chinese museums before I started building mine. So I had an idea from especially the ones in California,
Yeah.
having gone in them, what it should look like inside for its size. So that's where we started. It's also had not financial support, but emotional support, I would say, excuse me, from the local Lionsgate Buddhist Priory. So there would have been a small Buddhist altar within the museum, and so we've replicated that. And the Buddhist community here has been making sure I'm respectful, as have a couple Chinese mentors of mine, to make sure that it's respectful for the Chinese population.
Well, that's amazing. Congratulations. So, what is the plan? I know with COVID, the future is a little uncertain, but do you have plans to be open this summer?
Yeah, I will be able to open. I'm going to start on May 22nd, just sort of get started with local people. I think it'll be okay. I, of course, have COVID rules, so I'm only allowed 6 people in the building. Because everything in the building is in glass cages, basically, it's very simple to maintain COVID rules. So I'm hoping that works. Last summer was a good example. There was no restrictive travel ban from the lower mainland, so many people were just kind of getting out of Vancouver and coming across the Duffy, stopping in Lytton when they saw the museum. So a lot of my visitors last year were just day trippers passing through our community.
All right. Well, thank you. And again, congratulations. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for all the work that you've been doing. And we'll be sure to keep following your story. Thank you so much.
yeah. And if you're ever down in the Lytton area, Dana, just pop in and I'll give you a private tour.
Oh, you bet. I'll definitely be there. I've been able
Okay.
to peek through the windows. I'm looking forward to coming inside.
Okay,
All
perfect.
right.
And thank you so much.
Yeah. You have a great day.
Thanks.